It's Edge Radio Australia. Time for the Greater Wealth, 1 o'clock on Monday. And we're primed and ready to go. And we've got a special guest in the studio, James here, which I'll get the proper introduction going in a sec. But first, I'm going to run through. I'm going to go to James Whittaker. James Whittaker, see, I'm already doing it already. It's your fault. It's him. He pokes faces at me. That's the problem.
Your face.
Yeah,
I still remember that.
Your face. No, it's Derek Whittaker, who in the last 2 weeks I've butchered his name twice now, and it's all because of your face over there, Mr. Carter, who likes to look at me and poke faces at me just as the mic's open. I always appreciate that. Thanks, mate.
Web of lies. Web of absolute lies.
100% reality. Now, mate, I'm going to sit back. Okay, we are right now in your space, your land. Actually, both of you guys understand this very, very well, and I'm assuming you do too, James. I'm going to hope so. Otherwise, I've got some issues. Mate, I'm going to throw over to Mr. Carter. Look, Travis, who have we got on the show today?
Well, it's going to be a little bit of fun. I just go switch these cameras because I forgot to. Which is
oh, that's always helpful, mate.
So we've actually got James Liddiard.
Liddiard, yes.
Liddiard. So he's actually the founder and creator of arguably Australia's newest crypto token, GFE. Would you be the newest? Considering your launch is what, today, or is it over the next couple of days?
Just about anyone could launch a token today. We may not be the newest as of an hour from now. But,
so here we go. We'll cover ourselves. To my understanding.
Oh, I like that one.
Yeah, like
that's flash.
Yeah.
So you understand, and my knowledge, best of my knowledge.
So we do have the newest crypto token. The one that's
so
likely to actually work.
honestly.
Again, my opinion, that it's actually looks like it's going to work because the way you've set this up is phenomenal.
It really is.
So he's actually made a special trip all the way here, unplanned.
Unknowingly.
Yeah.
He didn't know, we knew. But
Poor guy was just driving by. We grabbed him, sack over the head, and into the studio.
Blame the blockchain. Blame the blockchain.
So that's why I stay away from centralized exchanges.
Good point. Good point. Okay. Now, poor old Derek over here, mate, this is your show. We've completely just
hijacked it.
Yes.
All good.
Yeah, all
We
good.
DDoSed him.
It's not about me. It's about our listener, mate.
Yeah. Thank you for saying that because that's so true. This is about the subjects we talk about here. This is about getting to the everyday Aussie, right? This is the important thing. This is no censorship, no control, honest conversation. So you've got lots of information there, lots of questions that far out of my pay grade, and I'm looking forward to that. So let's get into it.
So you're the founder of GFE.
I am actually co-founder now. So
There you go.
A team of 4 founders.
Well, congratulations. I know you put a lot of hard work into this.
Thank you.
So how is your token different from all the hundreds out there on the blockchain?
I think to answer that in a pretty simple, just in one word, is utility. So, like I mentioned just before, anybody can create a token as such. It requires a very little development skills and knowledge, and there's actually platforms out there that you could you could create an edge radio station. I could create one within about an hour, and it costs about $500. So creating a token as such is not a special deal.
Sure.
But creating a token model, a utility for the token, and then ultimately a platform for that utility is really the big deal, I guess.
So what are the real world problems you're solving through GFE?
It comes down to, ultimately, it's funny, we're building a social platform, but it comes down to payments is what we're solving. So
how do you mean that in simple terms for me?
Yeah, so I guess if you look at PayPal, and this is very interesting.
We all love PayPal here.
It's a pretty interesting topic as to why did Elon buy Twitter, and it wasn't just to increase his follower count or the ego. His background with PayPal, his knowledge of payments and the way payments work, and the platform that is Twitter today is probably to springboard a new payment system similar to actually what we're building today. So it could potentially be a competitor.
You could argue that you got in first.
Yeah, that's right.
And so you beat Elon Musk to an idea. That's yes, claim to fame.
Yep. Yeah.
Anything
claim
he
that.
does now is copying us.
Yeah,
It's,
absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. So you should nail him for copyright.
Yeah.
No, no.
Good luck with that.
So one of the things,
Alright.
because I do play in the crypto sphere a little bit, and it's so annoying trying to use wallet to transfer money from one person to the next. If you run a store and you try and use cryptos to pay for something, it's frustrating as hell. Like, I love the fact you can go to a shop and tap a card, and so hopefully I can see the potential in the GFE side of things where it could eventually end up to that sort of extent.
In a nutshell, spell it out for me. What problem are you solving? Because you said payments.
Yeah. Payments and social. So what we're ultimately building is a social platform where people can monetize their social influence and their social profile in their own terms, in their own way, using GFE token and other payment platforms like Bitcoin and Ethereum and stuff as well. So currently in the space, there's no safe way to transfer funds from one person to another, especially into another country, to someone you've never met before.
Right.
You know, ultimately there's they sort of say 80 to 90% chance you could be getting scammed. And a lot of people in the space have been scammed. And because of the decentralized nature of it all, there's no bank to call up and say, hey, I've accidentally transferred a large amount of money to somebody I didn't know who turned out to be a scam. Can you fix it? There is no fixing. Hence why, that space is scam ridden. So, and from a payment perspective, it ultimately goes back to the original Satoshi white paper for Bitcoin, which was originally created as a peer-to-peer payment system. Which it is, and it can be, but the nature of it and the detailed nature of it basically has attracted a large portion of
Nigerian princes.
Yeah, well, it's interesting that I've not got an email from any Nigerian prince in the last 7 years asking to transfer a large amount of funds, because that scam is old, and they've realized that it's much easier to scam hundreds of people for small amounts of money, almost in an untraceable way. So,
I get slammed with thousands of search engine optimization emails, all from India.
There you go.
So it's your fault, Mr. Indian.
Clearly,
Sorry,
I'm
Aaron's
responsible for the whole country. Yep, absolutely. No. Now, so let me get this sort of cleared up for myself. So you are going to find a safer, easier way for people to pay. Simple as that.
Yeah. So without getting super technical, the platform itself, and I don't want to keep using Twitter or Facebook as an example, but one of the biggest problems that Elon was tackling was bots.
Yep. Okay.
Bots and fake profiles and imitators, all the rest, and the percentage was, I think it was 10 times more than Twitter had originally quoted. When he made the acquisition deal, so he's had to sort of get in there and build that from a technical perspective. What we're doing is building a platform that, from the get-go, effectively won't allow bots or fake profiles or impersonators due to the nature of the blockchain and the security, and the fact that the verified profile comes with an NFT that states that it cannot be copied. You are who you say you are. Therefore, if I'm dealing with you from a transactional perspective, and even just from a social perspective, you are a real person. You're not a bot.
Well, that's actually really interesting, because we had Dgogo on the show last time from Cold Fusion. We were talking about AI, the Open AI.
Sure.
So that's one of the newest.
Open chatbot. Yeah. So AI plays a huge part in the growth of blockchain, moving forward. So AI is actually something that we're speaking with some partners to implement to make this safer process from a
because I can see
Gotcha.
AI is making a heap of fake accounts to hide what a lot of people are doing, a lot of these scammers. So because AI itself isn't so much an evil tool, it's just how it's used. It's just a tool.
Like anything, yeah.
So this is actually really interesting, having the NFT attached to every account, because that makes it really, really hard to fake accounts.
Gotcha.
So this is something that it's sort of like having the blue tick verification on Twitter,
right?
But with an actual not physical, but a web domain location that can you can't.
So you're bringing a lot of safety to transactions, effectively.
Yeah. So the mission is to I don't think we can make the space as a whole safe and not bank safe, but effectively a lot more safer.
I don't know if bank safe is a thing anymore.
Yeah, I know. We all have that bank safe, but
us the Canadians.
Yeah, look, you look at those scams work the same, don't you? You get a text message and you transfer your funds out of your bank account into another one, and the text message, it looked like it originated from a Westpac account, and you still had your funds drained regardless. And
I have to
can't do anything about it. So
about 2 years ago, I got an email from ANZ. The only thing that gave it away, and even when I clicked on the terms and conditions, it went to the ANZ's terms and conditions site.
Nice.
So all the links besides the one they wanted you to click on actually went to ANZ itself. Only thing that gave it away, the email address wasn't from ANZ that it came from.
Yep.
But now you can actually hide your email addresses. So some of these scams are so sophisticated, like Nana or Pop would have had no idea what they were clicking on.
Well, that's it. So I mean, let's not focus on the scary side of it. Let's focus on the positive. To be honest, to me, this sounds really, really good because of the safety. And if you've got that foresight to be looking at the tap and go kind of situation, people will be able to control their own finances again with ease, rather than being very complicated. Because at the moment, I just don't understand
it's too hard.
Yeah, look, I just go get on the phone. Travis, how do I do this? What's going on?
The amount of times I've had to log into his computer remotely to fix the shit that he causes is amazing. The other thing I'm really excited about this, especially with obviously this is a finance show, the Australian government bringing out the central bank digital currency, which is going to be heavily tracked, monitored and controlled. This gives us an alternative. Like this is the way I see this is effectively the cash of the digital world.
The new cash, I guess,
So I don't know if that's a good metaphor, but that seems to work for me.
It's an interesting one because I looked at, I think it was about 2 years ago, I looked at the 5-year roadmap for the Australian government. Effectively the pathway to digital currencies, which is where they're at now in terms of issuing a CBDC. The question, there's a lot of questions and a lot of things that people haven't really asked is. If we would convert to a digital wallet and I was to go into my bank, BankWest, and I was to deposit $10,000 towards a digital currency, what happens to that $10,000? Is it burnt? Because effectively there's an inflation that happens and a double dip, when money is transferred into the bank and then reissued as well. So, whilst it looks like it's a safer tracking alternative, it's also a way to effectively hide inflation.
So I wonder if this would actually count. Derek might be able to answer this one. If they're not removing the currency off the printed amount when they turn into a digital currency, is that like a hidden tax on top of it, like damaging the value of the Australian dollar?
Say that again.
So like James just said, let's say a person deposits $10,000 into their bank and then they turn that $10,000 into a digital currency. The original $10,000 that they put into the bank, if the bank doesn't remove that from circulation, is that going to be like a hidden inflation? How much of an impact will that have to the Australian currency?
Interesting.
It's one that's not been raised, but
it's a very good question.
Jeez, I'm surprised who asked.
Well, actually, James is the one that brought it up.
Because Australia, they're effectively running two currencies.
They've
got the paper currency, the bank currency, and the digital currency. And unless the issuance of digital currency equals the remove of circulation of supply, then it's a hidden inflation.
It's going to be interesting, the future of centralized banks. That's what we've got to watch. And I think the one that's going to set the pace there is what happens in the United States. It'll have a flow-on effect to Canada and also Australia. Australia is not a leader in these kind of spaces. No. The US is. And I think that's where it's going to be defined. It will follow what the trend is as opposed to setting the pace where it goes. It's going to be interesting to see that relationship and public acceptance of decentralized crypto. That's it's kind of been fringe for a while, and now it's starting to get into the institutional money. When it starts getting into the institutional money, what happens? More regulation comes in as well.
Correct.
And I think what's the scramble has been for the central banks to going, we could end up being a dinosaur if we don't get a piece of this action, the slice of the action here. I mean, when you see the what's their name, the leader of the EU bank talking about that, you can see
Davos? Was it Davos?
No, that's where they meet.
That's where
she is very concerned about we'll be left out of the game if this continues.
Sure.
And it's interesting to see the fear in bankers as opposed to the markets going into the greed and fear and that sort of thing. So
A lot of us like to watch that fear, quite frankly.
Now, I'm going to get full political now.
Fancy that.
Surprise, surprise.
Mhm.
So,
It's been 10 minutes.
Senator Malcolm Roberts effectively single-handedly destroyed the cash ban bill and the bank bail-in laws.
Yes.
So the scary thing is, if they do go to a digital currency, will those laws still abide on the digital currency side of things? Will the banks be able to dip into your digital currencies? Because you got to remember, it's not actual illegal tender yet. So the bill to pass the central bank digital currency to make it a part of a legal tender side of things, it means it's not covered by the current laws.
Hang on, surely, okay, the bail-in laws would be covered by this.
No, that's
No?
the thing. They're not. They're talking with the bail-in laws. They're talking about the legal tender. So cash, money in the banks,
Yep.
even checks are not considered legal tender. So
Yeah, of course.
gold issued
Okay.
coins and silver issued coins are considered legal tender because they've actually got a printed dollar value on the front.
Sure.
So even though you buy a silver coin for like $40 or whatever it is now,
Mhm.
it's actually worth $1 if you're using it to buy something out of shop. It's the legal tender value of the coin.
Okay.
So it's the value of the metal, not the image printed on the face. So with the central bank digital currencies, I have seen nothing on the Currency Act to say that this will be counted as legal tender. So one of the reasons I think that they've done this so far, now this is just, I think this,
Okay.
is because if it's not counted as legal tender, the banks have full say on how they operate and how they deal with it. And shops decide whether they're allowed to accept it or not. So I think that's where a lot of problems is. There's so much legislation that needs to be sorted out on this, because at the moment it's the wild, wild west.
I think it's they're struggling to catch up from a
Yeah.
legislation point of view, and that's pretty evident.
Yeah.
I think that goes across all modern society, quite frankly. You know?
Yeah, yeah, and this space has grown so quickly.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah,
sort
no
of took
question about
the
that.
government of all countries by surprise and by shock, and they've, the last 5 years has just been a scramble to try and find people experienced enough to be able to change that legislation as well. So
Many
So-
people aren't going to understand the difference between decentralized and centralized. Can you give us a brief summary of the difference between the two?
yeah, so I guess like true decentralization, there is no sort of power of manipulation. It's kind of like the people's money, which is like effectively what Bitcoin was created for, and hence why it was the tokenomic model was that everyone could effectively mine it on their computers until until companies and even Bitcoin, whilst it's decentralized, has become much more centralized. Sometimes bordering on a 49 to 51% centralization. So
Just for the people listening online, when he says the people's money, he's not talking about the Chinese Communist Party's
no,
money.
it's just sorry about that. It's put in the hands of the people, and
It's like
you know.
silver coins, basically. What American coins were made out of silver at one point,
Yes.
your US dollar,
Oh,
as
the silver
opposed to the
penny as
banks
well.
dealing in gold and gold
Gotcha.
bullion. That's what you mean by that.
yeah,
It's kind of a-
correct. And then so from the centralized level is Bitcoin started from a decentralized movement, and then people realized they call them the OGs of cryptocurrency, where they're fighting for the decentralization, but then they realized that whilst you want a high level decentralization, when something goes wrong, you want to be able to call someone, which then therefore defaults back to a centralized type intervention. So it was needed and required over the years that a certain level of centralization came in to allow for institutional money to build a more mature space.
Especially considering that most wallet IDs don't have a face or anything attached to it. So
that's effectively what we're trying to build is and AI plays a huge part in it, because one of the partners we're speaking to is effectively one of the process that you go through from joining the platform is an AI KYC verification, and therefore once you've completed that KYC verification, you're issued the NFT to your social profile. So therefore, there's technology moves quicker. There's deep fakes. There's other ways, but AI KYC is probably the gold standard at the moment.
Okay. So before we head to the break, what I'll do, I'll quickly grab that website where people can actually get their tokens if they do want to jump onto it.
Well, the website itself is gfetoken.io. We're just about to launch on our time, Thursday.
Yep. I did see the timer. It's on my big screen at home. I'm just
It's counting down very, very quickly. There's a lot of stuff to do, but
when you've got stuff you got to buy with money you put into it, it's like, oh, come on, hurry up. So yes, I do need a new computer. So anyway,
jeez.
um,
You poor thing.
oh, I'm so excited.
Yeah,
So
your
I,
first world problems. Yeah, go on.
in the interest of transparency, yes, I did jump in on the early sales. So can people still jump in on the early sales, or is that closed now?
Yeah, from an early sale perspective, from Australians, we've effectively had to close it just due to the fact that we're launching in a few days. There is anyone who sort of plays in the space, there will be a pink sale raised just before we launch.
Yep.
But more than likely, it's probably safer for most people just to wait till Thursday when it's on the open market on 2 centralized exchanges and a decentralized exchange, which is Pancake Swap.
Fantastic. It's Edge Radio Australia, the greater wealth going on. And I like to match the music to what we're talking about. Well, we've been talking about banks, so I've got In Excess, Listen Like Thieves. It's Edge Radio Australia.
All right. So for the people still listening online, do you have any questions for James? So we're going live on this, so people can send questions in.
Oh, yeah, sure.
We're still live as far as that goes.
Yeah, yeah.
Up there. So we're not going out on the radio.
So don't pick your nose yet.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay, yeah,
yeah.
lovely. I really had to.
Save that for the special.
Yeah.
After dark.
I'll do it in the car park.
Make it in actually.
Yeah.
Powerade, the blue
Oh,
ball.
I'm okay.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
Thanks, Evan.
We're all good. We're all good. We're all got drinks. We're all sorted.
No, I haven't got a drink yet. I went and got everyone drinks. Oh,
Is that
Evan's
yours?
just here.
Evan?
It was behind the computer. I couldn't see it. I was looking. Thank you, young sir.
All
That'll
right.
make up for you knocking over the camera.
So we have 7.5 minutes, and then we'll be back.
Did you want to stick around, or you got to run?
I'm happy to if you have more questions.
Well, nothing's come through online yet. Believe it or not, we haven't been kicked off, even though like some of the comments we've said. Facebook and YouTube are notorious. Like you'll say a word and then all your streams will get pulled down.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah, that's interesting. I guess it depends on the content.
Exactly.
Well, yeah.
Where you flag because
They're funny.
the music is the main issue, which is ridiculous. We've got the license.
Yeah, but they just take it straight away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then 2
they
days
have to
later-
appeal that you've got the license. Yeah.
But it's too late. They've already dropped it down off the streams.
Yeah.
So, and the funny thing is on the stream, you can't really see this one, but if you're watching on Facebook and all that stuff, that's what we should have done. Have you got a Stockbook account? I could have streamed this directly to your Stockbook account.
Oh wow. Yeah.
I should have done that. What I'll do, I'll edit, I'll cut it out, and then I'll send it to you so you can check it out.
Yeah, I'll share it on Telegram and everything else.
Yeah.
We didn't really talk too much about the project, so which is good. Like it's, I feel like I've just talked nonstop to everybody, the same questions just over and over, which is good. So,
when it comes to the launch, that's what's going to happen.
you have to.
isn't it?
Yeah.
That's the media around.
Put yourself on loop.
Nobody wants to read this. It's too
No,
many pages.
It's very shiny though. It's very pretty.
And that's not the fat one either.
No,
That's the thing.
Respect.
So it's
I'll have a look.
56 pages. It's a book. We had to get glue to bind the books together.
Yeah.
Like it came up absolutely gorgeous.
Oh no, I've seen
I
the
had
books.
No.
I could have made it 100. There's so much stuff.
Yeah?
to
No.
put in there.
You know the one you saw?
Yeah.
That's about half of the
Oh, is that
pages.
right?
Yeah.
This
It's a full binded, glued cover. Had to
So
crease.
far, at least had 5 people read it.
Okay, well that's something.
It took me 9 months to write it.
My first experience with the Australian Stock Exchange was, believe it or not, 1987.
You tell this story to
No,
every
no.
single guest we
Very
have
short
on the show.
version. No, very short version of this. No, it's related to this, just on that front. And I'd never known about, prospectus, paperwork and whatever. And that was my first job there as a 15-year-old, to go through and file all those bloody things.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, do people really read these? Like,
They don't. But
no one does.
You know what's
And
really
that's
funny?
massive file because it's on there. And I don't know if you remember something rather big happened with the Stock Exchange in 2 weeks after I left.
So you were the cause of it.
That was the running joke. That was the running joke. But clearly
Still
not.
is.
Yeah.
Someone
Obviously,
misfollowed
you
it.
haven't been running.
Oh! No, I chalky actually, because back then it was written on the boards. It was actually I'm just going to forget it. It's the best way to live my life. A chalky with a whiteboard marker literally wrote, Aaron Chalks, world stock markets crash. And everyone laughed and thought it was really funny.
And then there's
Yeah.
Aaron in the corner.
Yeah. It was a Black Friday 2 weeks later.
Leave me alone.
Yeah.
No, seriously, Aaron is actually Indian.
Yeah, all
Right.
half.
Head
clearly-
bobbing Indian.
No?
The
Yeah.
head bobbing Indian.
Head doesn't bob. I don't even have decent rhythm. Come on,
So you get it mixed up when you do the Bollywood dances. So instead of screwing in the globe and patting the dog, you we won't say what you do to the dog.
we'll leave that right now. All right, we've got 4 minutes here.
Yeah, so we don't censor anything,
Yeah.
which is really lucky for me.
Yeah, well, it makes it a lot safer for just to speak clearly, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, honestly, that's people are so sick of everything. It's so sensitive.
In this world, in this day.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's why we're I don't want to say as successful as we have been. There's always room for more success, but we've been generally really well received.
Yeah.
Even with all the really bad comments and stuff like oh shit, we've got to plug the music in.
I think it's everyone is on that side of air
Did you like the printing?
to caution.
The printing is amazing. The company TLCE
like having
printing
a
did a
break.
wonderful
It's
job.
refreshing to
Yeah, it's a really good way of
not,
looking at
not
it.
have to worry about it.
I might have to add another letter to this.
What's that?
Nothing. That's it. A little Easter egg. So the gamers will get that comment. So that's the one thing I love about it.
I know what Easter egg. Okay.
No. It's a gaming term. It's a hidden secret. So the fact that I can actually have, I can like play League of Legends, and then people can pay me to actually play with me, like a support lane. So it's one of the hardest roles to get decent support in the game. So they can go, oh, this guy's actually not twat. So we'll go give him a couple of tokens to come play with us.
We'll let them talk to you for 5 minutes. They'll establish your track. So.
No.
No refund.
Exactly.
No refund.
Exactly.
Yeah, once they've signed up.
Yeah.
So
All right. 2 minutes.
I'm actually all right. It's always the ADC reference. There's a saying, it's not kill something, it's ADC is dead.
It's always good to talk to a gamer that sort of gets it as well.
I missed that one.
So the role of the ADC, of the support, is to stop the ADC from dying
Right.
and don't take the kills, but the ADC got the kills. So it's not kill something, it's the ADC is dead. So just let the ADC die and you need to take the kills.
It's like a team. It's like a team game, and everyone has to play
Right.
strategy wise to you can't all play the same style.
Telling you it's more complicated than Space Invaders. Jeez.
Yeah, much more.
But the funny thing is, I play teamwork support.
You play what?
Teamwork. He's a little short hamster,
Right.
and he puts these poisonous mushrooms that are invisible. And so instead of just like blowing up and killing you outright, it's a slow burn over 4 seconds. So the amount of people, and you just see everyone behind them laughing at him. And so as they're going, ah! And it's like tick, 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 and then it's always the last tick kills them, and they're like, yeah, they absolutely rage at teamwork. He's awesome.
See, I only played card games, so I don't know. I'm calling the play rally.
I've never really got into it. I do play when I get time. I get like Apex Legends or Call of Duty,
So
or Fortnite with the kids. But,
I've always wanted to get into the Apex Legends. I just can't handle first-person shooters. I absolutely suck.
I actually used to be really good at this. Heather was one of the characters.
Yeah.
From Apex Legends. That's how much I used to play it.
30 seconds.
I only get like once a month now, maybe for an hour or two. So I'm absolute trash now.
We definitely need to make a League of Legends team for
The GFE.
GFE.
Yeah.
I've already got a count. I've got up to like level 18 or something. I just haven't had time to keep playing.
Yeah.
So I'm switching over to Steins.
Edge Radio Australia, the greater wealth. This is what we do every Monday. We've got Derek Whittaker over there. We've got a special guest in the studio as well. We've got the Shave Monkey as well. Mate, I'm going to throw straight to you, Derek. You're the man with the advice. You're the man with this great knowledge of...
I don't give advice on this show.
No, you don't. You don't.
They don't call him Derek the Dollar Battles after nothing.
I meant the personal stuff we talk about later. Okay, no. Okay, the knowledge will go.
Just call my lawyer.
You have the right to remain silent, mate. Look, you obviously understand the crypto space really well, and more every day. What are your thoughts here? What are your questions here? Because obviously, we want to answer the questions that everyday Aussies are asking. What do you think?
I think the biggest things for me, there are two uses as I see it, and correct me if I'm wrong if you see it differently, because I'm very open to learning in this space, right? So from my perspective, I come from the investment type space where we trade the stock market and all this sort of stuff and manage other people's money. And we have to look at things in terms of risk and risk management. And I think what I've been able to assess from my perspective is that crypto is bifold in terms of, one, people use it for investing, buy a coin, hold on it, hope it goes up. Yeah, pretty straightforward.
Yep.
There's the other aspect of the exchange in terms of paying for goods and services, as you would with money. You're using digital coins, and it solves a lot of the issues in terms of paying someone from a distance.
Yes.
In relation to that, is there a function I'm missing here?
Yeah. So, good question. I guess from a cryptocurrency, that's the investment payment is what most people say, especially like the average person.
Yeah.
Not every token is a payment token. Not every cryptocurrency is a payment. It can be used as a method of payment because it's transactable. But it's the underlying, the blockchain, which is actually more so the biggest, more important part that will move forward with the next 10 years of technology. And that's where like a lot of people get speculative from an investment point of view, as they find a project that solves a real world problem. It's not really a payment as per such. It's more of I believe that this token and this blockchain project will solve a real world problem on a global scale. So therefore I will invest money, but it is extremely highly volatile, where risk management from a hedge fund perspective can be done on very high liquid trading coins with very tight stop losses and monitoring it 24/7. For the average person, they don't have the skills to do that. They're not trained to do it. They don't know the risk management process. So, there's a level of, it's a highly volatile market where people, can make money, but it's almost like a zero-sum game. When you've sold that token, someone has purchased that token. So, you may be up in profit, and that particular person could be on the downtrend, I guess.
The three factors we look at in the stock market are government influence, economy, and interest rates. And obviously, in many ways, the decentralized, they kind of solve the issues in terms of what we talked about in terms of inflation, because there's only a certain issuance of these coins. Yeah. It's not like we can go and print more coin type of thing as they would with centralized banks.
Yeah.
My biggest question has always been government intervention on this. We've seen China many times banning mining of this and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
The toothpaste is out of the tube, as I say, in terms of crypto, in terms of the blockchain. People have gone, this can solve a lot of costs in terms of administration because of what the blockchain offers, in terms of the audits, the transparent audits it can provide, etc. But that's always been the unknown for me, is government intervention, because they want their piece of the pie when it comes to taxation. What's your view on that?
Well, they already do. I guess, the on-ramp and the off-ramp for the average everyday person is through a centralized exchange. Even other platforms that people can do, there's always a record of an on-ramp. You've used your credit card, you use your bank, you've put cash into a bank, you've purchased on Binance or CoinSpot. For them to have licenses in certain countries, they report to the tax office. So there's a misconception that, they're not going to get their cut. All your trades are recorded, buys, sells, swaps, and they're kept on these exchange accounts for legal reasons for applying. So it's not the government has put very, very strict, tight restrictions on those on-ramps and off-ramps. And that's why, like Binance, you see Binance is continually getting, regulated approval. Australia was probably about 2 years ago to operate in those countries, and that's part of the certificate of like being able to operate, is that you report everything to the government. So they've got their piece of the pie. It's more about, I guess, maybe the banks as well.
And it puts, as we said, finance is often about the control of currency. And that's been the big thing that the banks have prided, especially the centralized banks, have prided themselves in. That's how they get wealthier.
So that's the main thing, is that there's no control.
Yeah.
So there's no levers that can be pulled and moved to control the way the currency the way the currency goes, and that's where they probably made the bulk of their money over the lifetime of
no doubt
government issued currencies. So
Absolutely.
I think it's more the level of control is the biggest thing, and the fear that something potentially Bitcoin or something else becomes a global currency.
So in day-to-day transactions, how many people, because you see the little Bitcoin ATMs now in your shops and that sort of stuff, and you can load up a debit card that is, a gold-backed crypto if you want to go that far, and all these sort of functions. You see this coming in to the marketplace. How many day-to-day transactions are starting to happen in the crypto space?
Oh, it would be phenomenal. I wouldn't even be able to quote anything that would be...
what percentage of the market?
For Australia?
Yeah, for Australia.
From Australian perspective, from a daily transaction outside of transacting on an exchange, probably very, very minimal still, probably around 1 or 2% of all transactions. But and that's including, the new debit cards that effectively liquidate your tokens to do so. But there's FPOS payment providers that are got thousands of merchants that are getting ready to effectively be able to have merchants accept crypto payments, but they just on their end is just auto settled into fiat currency.
Well, this is the thing I see as a really big growth area, because a lot of people I've spoken to lately in business are getting really tired of the percentage that's being taken through FPOS. It's crazy. They've just lost the plot. Yeah.
So being able to reduce those fees through cryptocurrencies and some type of payment platform, there's still a cost to convert to a fiat level, but from my understanding, in the next 12 months, a lot of these merchants are going to probably potentially save 50-60% on their FPOS fees, which is huge. So.
The other thing to take into account, obviously considering how multicultural Australia is, we've got criminal here, we've got an Indian there, you've got American here. I'm not sure where you're from, I've never actually asked, but we've got already so many different people from different countries. Like with Luan's family, that's my wife, we send a lot of stuff over to Vietnam and they send us money. We lose a heap of money in visa charges. I think we're paying about 7% every time we change the currency. And then obviously you got the currency going up and down, all that sort of stuff. If we just send them cryptocurrencies instead, going from one wallet to the next, I think it's about a 1% exchange rate or something when you transfer, like the slippage. That's what they call it.
It's minimal, yeah.
Yeah, it's tiny.
Yeah, so there's a lot of I used to work in retail and very multicultural, and a lot of people that are in Australia send money back home because they're earning good money. And the fees to do so are extremely high. So sometimes, when they travel back home, they take cash with them. It's probably the best way. But if they have an emergency and they need to send money across, I think the fees for sending away maybe $300, people were losing $40 or $50 of that by the time they're effectively converted.
The other thing as well, the exchange rate that you see on the TV, so like Aussie dollar to US dollar or whatever, that's not what you pay either. So the banks have their own even worse rate. So it's
particularly third world countries and stuff. So Philippines, Vietnam, they have centralized exchanges with off ramps that work quite well. So if you were to use a highly liquid token, very low slippage, the transfer
next
from
to
here
nothing.
to there it takes 5 to 10 seconds effectively after a transaction's processed. They can have funds in their bank within an hour, which is much quicker than a lot of the other
Western
transfers.
Union and stuff
Western
like that.
Union, and the fee is minimal. They get much closer to what you've sent. So
and well, sort of encompassing all of that, but this is why retailers are starting to really embrace it, because they're getting more, they're working hard. These people are working hard, long hours and that sort of thing, very, very hard. And to see so much of their money disappearing in all these fees, if there's a better alternative, the market will find it and the market will chase it. So no, I can see this becoming, just walking in, using the old card, just very, very comfortable for everyone. And not with.
I ran into huge problems with a client I have in Europe. The bank gave us the wrong SWIFT codes. It went to a secondary bank. Her payments, she was stung with, a fee of €250 because of the mistake. Right. We had to work out another way. I said, given the local bank would not guarantee that if the codes they gave me would actually arrive here. I'm like, well, great, thanks very much. That's really useful. It's cost my client. I'm having to manage this client now, this new onboarding this client because of this.
And it's not a quick process. It'll be 72 hours probably.
And also the
it's
other
stretched
thing,
out to a 6-week process.
It
But in the
damages
end,
your
we use
business,
PayPal reluctantly because the fees are so high. I mean, it was a fairly large transaction we had to do. And I said, look, I don't want it, but I'm going to have to charge you some for the merchant fees to cover this because it's just ridiculous what they're asking.
But the other thing as well, trying to deal with a UK bank from Australia, you've got to stay up to like 9:30, 10 o'clock at night just to get their opening hours.
Yeah,
same as America.
The banks are still backwards 30 years and only open at a certain time.
Well, Europe uses the IBAN system, whereas we here in Australia and the Asia we're more familiar with the SWIFT system. So that you're dealing with two different networks as well.
Right, didn't know that.
And
they all want something for it as well. It's just from a cryptocurrency perspective, you effectively could have used a bank transfer to a centralized exchange, purchased a liquid token, transferred across here, liquidate, and back into the bank within a couple of hours. That's a payment solution.
So there you go, Derek. That's talk to James about future transactions from your international clients.
I'll only charge you 5%.
And I'll charge you 4% for the commission. No.
I'll do it for free.
The other one as well is, especially as much as I hate it, we're becoming more and more of a global economy rather than just like an Australian economy and stuff like that. So even myself, like I've got to deal with people in other countries. So having that ability to not use the banks for the transfers of money, I'm highly excited about this because it cuts out not the middleman, but the middlemen, because there's so many different steps you got to go through transferring money internationally. So if you can just go direct to the person, like that's just the process alone, the time you don't save, the headaches you don't save, it's just easier.
People like easy.
The other issue too, and we saw Yi bring it up recently, is that here I'm
What did he bring up recently? He brings up a lot of controversial
He does.
stuff.
Well, he said, look, here I am a billionaire.
Yeah.
The banks have frozen my bank accounts. If they can do it to me, they can do it to you.
Very good point.
And it's at a click of a button. I don't think most Australians are aware of this, but at a click of a button, the bank can go, we're freezing your account. No more transactions on it.
Yeah.
These solutions, they kind of bypass that problem, don't they?
Yeah, they do, but they come with their own risk because I had a conversation with someone just this morning, an early pre-sale person into GFE, and you're self-custody. So whilst it gives you all these extra benefits, you are the person in charge of your money, and if you lose your seed phrase or you do something that's gone forever, you can't. There's not somebody to call to fix that.
Isn't there a dude that lost his seed phrase?
Oh, there's millions.
But he had like $28 million worth of Bitcoin.
I would have had $100 million worth of Bitcoin. I don't even want to tell you that story, but I purchased Bitcoin on my laptop early 2011.
Yeah.
Not long before Facebook IPO started, because I wanted to get into that early. At the time, it was $500. I bought $500 worth of Bitcoin on my laptop, transferred it to my laptop. Didn't think too much of it. It was $500. Maybe 6, 9, 12 months later, upgraded my laptop, cleared the last one, sold it on Gumtree or whatever it was. And it was probably 5, 6 years later that I was like, oh, I remember I bought that Bitcoin. And what is it worth now today when Bitcoin started to hit the media? I remember I specifically, I should have gone to like a hypnotist or something, but I remember I wrote it on a notepad, my seed phrase, and put that in a drawer, because that's what people do. At the time, they think, oh, it's safe. I wrote it on a bit of paper. It's in a drawer. 6, 12 months later, that drawer's gone. The seed phrase is gone. They lose their phone. They've now lost the custody of their token. So,
am I allowed to ask how many Bitcoins you purchased for that $500?
Oh, look, it's hard to tell because I don't have I went back through old bank statements, everything, trying to work out, what happened to it, and if there's a way. At first, I thought maybe it was on a centralized exchange, and if it was, it probably was Mt. Gox, so I wouldn't have got it anyway. But I do remember I purchased and followed the instructions. It took me about 2 nights to work out how to actually purchase Bitcoin, because it wasn't as easy as it is now.
Sure.
And then how to install the wallet, the Bitcoin wallet, and how the Bitcoin wallet works, and how to transact that, and how to get a wallet address. I'd sort of taught myself back then. So it could have been anywhere between 500 and maybe 1,500 Bitcoin. But the reality is, I only really lost $500, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You keep saying that to yourself, you'll be fine.
Oh, look, I just don't do
I think
500 times 30,000.
You kind of have to.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, didn't Bitcoin hit like 80,000 at one point?
Yeah, Aussie, or pretty close to 90,000 Australian dollars. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it was 65, 67 US. So.
No, it was $500.
It was $500?
Yeah, I know.
Right.
Times that by 500 or 1,000. That's
Let's just not talk about it. Okay.
Yeah.
So the solution to that, how good are these, offline wallets and that sort of stuff, the USB type stick type things?
They're very good if you educate yourself, and that's the problem. Is people tend to hear my friend made money by buying XRP, or my friend made money by buying Dogecoin.
MLX is another one.
And so what they do is they do very minimal research. They jump on a computer, they download a wallet. People sometimes get scammed at that point because there's phishing sites of like, do you want to buy Bitcoin, buy it through here, or they don't exactly know. So they look for help in Telegram chats or WhatsApp, and people go, yes, I'll scam that person. And I know someone, recently that was scammed for about 150,000 by that way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So people ask me, and I always say, look, come back to me in 3 months when you've done all your research. And they're like, but the market's moving now. And I said, trust me, like anything you do now, you'll more than likely lose money. Right? Go do all your own research, learn how to self-custody, how to keep your seed phrases safe, watch the markets, research the projects that you would potentially put money into, and then do it then. Don't do it now.
Yep.
And sometimes you're right, and the market goes down, and then they sort of come back and thank you, and sometimes you're wrong, and I would have bought that coin and it went up, 65%, but would they have sold it at that point? Would they have wrote it all the way back down? So I think the more important thing is to be more knowledgeable before you actually commit money.
Knowledge is power. We keep saying it, but it just doesn't change.
People are just too quick to just throw money and then learn later, I guess, and that's where mistakes happen.
Yep.
I have to admit, I may or may not be one of those people.
Oh, I know 100%. I know 100% you're one of those people.
So
yeah.
Alrighty, time for a break. I've got the blank face looking at me there. It's Edge Radio Australia. Yeah,
the blank face.
the blank. It's you, mate. I'm sorry. I look across there and I just see the test pattern. What can I say?
Wow.
And a silence filled the room. It's Edge Radio Australia, the greater wealth.
Anything else you want to cover, Travis?
I really want to get into the things we were talking about before, the Pfizer vaccines and Big Pharma.
So
There's been some Big Pharma news come out, so
all right,
yeah, we can't imagine.
Well, let me ask you this on that one. So how much time do you need on that? Because I've got about 8 minutes by the time it's adjusted. So I can change that. Put you more.
We could do more of that. We could do less of that.
It's one of those stories that just keeps.
Yeah. Project Veritas has shown.
Yeah, okay. Let's go more than that.
So you can be part of this, or you can bail now. It's up to you, because I don't know how much Big Pharma affects cryptos. So you want to stick around? It's up to you.
Oh, look at how long are you alive for another?
About 10 minutes or so.
Oh,
We keep the segment after us open, so just in case we go over the hour.
Yes.
So because I've got a habit of going off on tangents.
Yeah.
I don't know if you picked up on that yet.
Sometimes I do on the words.
We didn't even talk about Sam Bankman-Fried.
Oh yeah, well that's actually that's pretty relevant.
Let's do that. All right. So what we'll do is I actually won't run a spot. We'll go straight back in after this song. All right.
And you want to do the Sam Bankman-Fried FTX thing.
And that will mean we'll be coming back with 10 minutes.
Do you want to do Big Pharma after that, Travis?
I don't mind. I mean, I'm loosey-goosey today.
Okay.
Well, what do you want to do? Your call.
No. Well, I think
You
we
wanna
need to cover. We need the big fund. Right. Simple as that.
You want Big Pharma next?
Yes.
So don't do the FTX.
Oh, hang on. We can do FTX, but I want to finish on big fund. I want that to be the way out. So,
You know the worst thing about going to the toilet? Kissing your hands.
1 minute.
I think the FTX thing's a
Travis. Yeah.
good wrap up anyway. So a lot of people are sort of quick up about it.
You can do that to your sister.
Water.
So what I'll do is I'll just intro back in, Derek, and I'll throw straight to you. Right?
Sure.
So which one are we doing?
FTX.
We'll do a really quick measure on the FTX.
40 seconds.
I must admit, I'm still waiting for that guy to accidentally commit suicide whilst being mates with
Edge Radio Australia, the greater wealth. It is, of course, Monday. We've got the team here. We're talking about all sorts of things, which, quite frankly, I'm finding today's show really interesting. I'm learning a lot. I'm going to throw it over to you there, Derek, because you've got some FTX news.
Yeah, it's been interesting that the Department of Justice in the United States has alleged that Sam Bankman-Friedman might be doing witness tampering through the app called Signal, contacting the former FTX workers and FTX US General Counsel Ryan Miller. I guess that whole story of, that an exchange can then shoot it off to a sister company, often a foreign jurisdiction, is a big wake-up call for a lot of people in terms of the integrity of the exchange they're using. In due diligence at all that, when onboarding, offboarding, is there a sequence of events that you follow? I mean, this is where the centralization people go, well, this is why you need it.
Yeah, it's sort of like a double-edged sword because that level of centralization was needed. And FTX was like the second largest in the world and growing exponentially.
Yeah.
And people take for granted that it's a centralized exchange. They have licenses. They must be as safe as a bank. And even with his name, Bankman-Fried. But, the reality was it was a young person who was inexperienced with dealing with hundreds of billions of dollars, custody of, a lot of money.
I couldn't be trusted with my car keys back then, let alone
that's right.
dollars.
So, it definitely was a wake-up call in terms of like the centralization is needed, but there's a due diligence that actually has to happen on that level of centralization. Just because you're a centralized exchange doesn't mean that the people that are running the centralized exchange are managing the funds from a legal perspective. And what is that legal jurisdiction as to where they're based as well? Most people don't know where are they based? Where are their licenses? Who is the person that's running it? And how is the corporate structure set up for this, centralized exchange? So one of the better ones in the space, and you can never really trust anyone, and that's what they say in crypto is, don't trust anyone, is CZ from Binance, because that level of transparency, and it's effectively forced all exchanges to like disclose their holdings and their breakdowns of holdings, and to make sure they've got a one-to-one from a liquidity purpose as well. That is also needed as well. So there's a space on both sides. There needs to be, the government probably needed to be more efficient in making sure that these licenses granted, were safer for people as well. So, the FTX was a massive wake up call.
Look, I tend to think it's important. You need some form of regulation to keep things safe, but I like to see government not interfering too much into people's lives. Simple as that. So it's that gentle balancing act, I gather.
Which is kind of why we created what we created. That's, there's a safer level from a decentralized perspective, and we give the tools for like a self-governance as well.
So I do have one question. Considering what's happened with FTX, how hard has that made things in comparison to at the start of launching GFE? Once that came out, did it have much of an impact on the way people treated you?
Impact. We actually went live. We formed the company. We've been building since 2021. A lot of people.
Oh, right, COVID.
Yeah. So, and that was,
free time, right?
We had free time, and picked up the co-founding team, and we started building the project. At any point in time back then, we could have launched a token, which is what most people do. But we said we wanted to be a lot more MVP ready, and we wanted to launch via exchanges, because a decentralized exchange launch anyone can do. Like I mentioned, we could have Edge Radio out there and trading within 4 or 5 hours. So it was that level of authority of a centralized exchange. So we paid a lot of money to be listed on 2 centralized exchange to handle the initial offering of the tokens. And we actually went live about 14 hours after FTX.
Wow.
Oh, that would have sucked.
Yes. Yeah. So you cannot time anything. And that was like, I think we'd signed the contracts, agreements, and listings like 4 or 5 months before. So we could have jumped in earlier. We decided let's just be ready from our own perspective.
Yep.
And you can't time anything, unfortunately. It's it went live right in the middle of the dramas, and there was just a massive bank run on all exchanges. So everyone went, hang on, exchanges aren't safe. If FTX goes down, my little one's going to go down. Everything's all interconnected, and there was money going here, there, and everywhere. It's safer for me to take my crypto off the exchange. And we'd just gone, hey, we're a brand new project, and we're launching on a two centralized exchanges. So that was challenging. That was very, very challenging.
But you're launching with substance. That's what I can see. There's a lot behind it. There's structure behind it. This is not just a token kind of thing. This is, kind of. Can you explain to us something, some of the other aspects of the whole project?
Yeah, without I always try to break it down to a point where it's like, when I leave, you will understand what I was talking about. You can create a token for the sake of a token, and the utilities. So when we started building the GFE platform, we felt the missing element was the token. The GFE platform idea was pre-cryptocurrency, and we really had to answer why blockchain and why crypto, because there's no point in having a platform that could just be a fiat platform, but is a token platform for the sake of being a token Web3 project. So for us, it was around the NFT KYC verification, but also around what we call social smart contracts. And the social smart contract is on its most basic level, similar to like PayPal and Alibaba. The rise of Alibaba was allowed and grew China manufacturing massively at scale. And the only way for us to do business initially was there was not a lot of verification. But now, as a manufacturer, if you say you're a manufacturer in China, you're verified as a manufacturer that you do manufacture these and you could handle these quantities. And there's an escrow service, so you can safely get manufacturing from China. So we wanted to grab that model, apply it to the blockchain space, and say from a social perspective, if I was to do an interaction with someone that I've never met before and it involved funds in some way, shape or form, how would I make it safer from a peer-to-peer level where there's no real third-party intermediary, but there's a contract that exists that says, hey, we're going to create this contract that if you fulfill X, Y, Z, these tokens are released to you. And that's that was the answer as to why we needed a token to make the platform work.
I know we've talked about this many times before on the show, but can you also, just for those who aren't used to all the acronyms rather and so forth, what is the fiat system?
Isn't that a Derek question?
That's very much a Derek
question.
That is
Derek's.
Derek's explained this to me many, many times, which I'm very thankful.
It goes all the way back through the gold. And
exactly.
This is a long story.
I want to throw to you then, mate. Absolutely.
What is the fiat system?
Well, just for those who might be watching us for the first time and thinking, "Yeah, fiat, it's a funny car from Italy. What's going on?"
It's a currency that is issued through a centralized bank, basically.
Simple as
so when a government wants money in the circulation into its economy, it sells bonds to a centralized bank, which is a glorified IOU X amount of dollars.
Yep.
And then the bank goes off and prints that money, and it's based on a credit system, and that's the big debate on the whole fiat system. It's a credit-based system.
Well, I just wanted to clarify that because a lot of people might be, watching for the first time.
I think the first time I heard, I thought it was a car as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Isn't it a car that only barely runs?
Oh, look, don't you know? Fiat sounds. Fix it again, Tony.
Wow, that impersonation is like.
Oh, I should be on a pizza box right now. Anyway.
It is okay. So talking of fiat systems, this is totally non-relevant. This transition. So we keep hearing GFE. Does it actually stand for something?
Yeah, look, it stands for. We've labelled it great for entrepreneurs because effectively the platform. I funnily enough, I sort of say I don't have a body for OnlyFans, right? I'm not going to make any money from OnlyFans, but I'm pretty good at Apex Legends, or I can do other things that potentially people will see the value in as well. So we wanted to build a platform that's good for everyone. So that's another GFE acronym there.
I like that.
And then the elements within the platform: gaming for an experience, girl for an experience. There's effectively so many acronyms. We've got a 4,200 strong community that have come up with even more.
This could be dangerous.
No, this is great because people are actually being paid for their content, and you see so many other platforms where people are being screwed. There's a particular one where people put their music on and they get paid a percentage of a cent, all that kind of stuff. This is just it's just wrong.
I'm going to nail another one.
Take a large portion of
absolutely
what you're doing. Yeah.
One of my mates has 45,000 followers on TikTok, and they're saying, "Oh yeah, you don't get paid X amount," but when you read the fine print, he gets maybe 5% of the revenue created from TikTok. So
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
but he's put a lot of work into that. He's a music producer, so
you know
he
who
makes-
gets
TikTok.
It's TikTok.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So we created a revenue model where 80% goes straight to the creator.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
straight away.
it's and that, talking
that's
of
sustainable
revenue,
as far as I'm concerned.
I don't know if it's in that little booklet you're holding. If you want
It
to show
is.
everyone the light pages, from it says 5% of the revenue actually gets donated to your foundation, which helps to get.
Yeah, so one of the biggest things, like when I started researching these content, platforms that we have is, and I'll mention OnlyFans, but it's actually through things like YouTube and stuff as well.
Sure.
Let's say Pornhub. So if we use like all these different paid content platforms, where predominantly the platform earns the majority of the money, there's huge instances of sex trafficking,
children trafficking,
children
as well.
trafficking, and
So the scum of the earth.
Absolutely.
and those platforms take the very, very bare minimal legal requirements to be fulfilled to effectively, say, look, we tried, and they don't actively try to minimize or stop completely. So I said, look, if I'm going to build this platform, I want to build it as responsible as possible. So therefore, through the tokenomic model, we created the GFE Foundation, where 5% of our revenue, after profits, not initial revenue, sorry, after profits, goes to the GFE Foundation. And that's to help police the app from a decentralized perspective, but also to, we don't know how much that value is going to be, because it's as the platform builds, to help try and combat that and target zero instances, but be the benchmark in the industry.
I'm really, really excited about this, because we were doing a show on AI, and I'm one of those people. I always look for, how can this be abused? How can this be manipulated for the worst case scenario of people in society? Well, I love my politics. I'm getting into politics. So that's one of the things I have to do, because so many people come to me saying, this is what I found out. How do we fix it? So I've got to come up with solutions on how to fix all these issues. And seeing a token, because I can see that, I know when Bitcoin first came out, it was used for a lot to buy drugs and all this other stuff, is no one was regulating it. So I can see where a lot of this can be abused for the worst parts of society.
Sure.
And seeing that you're in that sphere, and you've actively gone out of your way to make sure you're trying to reduce how much of an impact you have in that sphere, I think it's phenomenal. I think it's fantastic.
Social responsibility is something that should be foremost in a person's mind, quite frankly. And I take my hat off to you. Boom.
Don't biz you blind us all.
Well, exactly. Think of the cameras. But it is so important. It's something that gets forgotten a lot in big business. We're going to talk about that probably in a minute. We've gone over time, but who really cares? Let's just go until we've,
Sarah's got to teach this afternoon, so we can't go too long.
Okay. We'll just make it a 5-hour show. We'll be fine. but that's so many big companies, big pharma and so forth. Where's the conscience here? And I actually want to use this as an opportunity to throw you
that's
you,
a
mate.
Great transition.
Yeah, well,
That was a really good segue.
Oh, thank you very much. I went to Segway school. Go on.
Well, it's been a big week for Big Pharma, hasn't it? I mean,
certainly has.
they're getting shook up. We had the
shook
Project
up.
Veritas. We had the Project Veritas launching a couple of huge videos on what's been going on.
They have.
There was the undercover video release on the 25th showing Jordan Tristan Walker, Pfizer's Director of Research and Development, Strategic Operations, admitting on camera on a date that the pharmaceutical company is exploring mutating COVID-19 themselves.
Yes.
And what they then do is then they call it, he was using the term directed evolution to basically then preemptively develop new vaccines against them.
Wow.
So we'll create mutations of the virus and then create more vaccines to solve these mutations.
Yes, it's nice to create something that hurts the human race to make money. I mean, come on. Yeah.
There's a
Supply and demand right there.
There's a great website that's been looking at this today, Children's Health Defense, and also talking about how Bill Gates has made a really interesting admission on the effectiveness of the vaccines in relation to what they can and can't do. And that's causing a little bit of a stir because, you know, he says we also need to fix the 3 problems of vaccines. The current vaccines are not infection blocking. They're not broad. So when new variants come up, you lose protection, and they have very short duration, particularly in the people who matter, which are old people. Now, put that in context with where they've come from. This article is also alleging that he has sold off a lot of his biotech shares.
Right.
Keyword alleges.
Allegedly, yes.
Yeah.
Has done that.
And we're reporting off another website. So this isn't Derek making these claims. This is reporting what the reporter says.
Children's Health Defence at August said that he invested $55 million in BioNTech back in 2019. Net worth north of $550 million. He sold some stock at the end of the last year when the price was over $300. They're quoting someone here. So it's interesting how this is all going. I think the great bittersweet irony of all of this is that he was there watching Djokovic yesterday at the Australian Open, who of course was 12 months earlier banned for not being vaccinated, watching him win the Australian Open in front of all the politicians, entertainers of Australia, after being really treated horribly by our nation.
The best bit about it, he did not suffer a single heart problem the whole time.
Yeah, he didn't not
No,
worry. Didn't
did you
fall at
notice
all.
that?
Hasn't died suddenly. And the other interesting thing about this, I might just
I wasn't
say,
going to go that far, but hey.
Elon Musk was tweeting about how he felt after his second booster, and his cousin experienced myocarditis. So it's been a big week because Project Veritas came out and then showed a video where they were confronting the director as well, and basically saying, sprung. This guy gets into panic mode, calling the police, telling them not to leave because he wants to have them arrested, I guess. For what? For asking a question, they're saying. The owners
hang
of the
on,
thing,
speech is violence, remember? Come on.
The owners of the restaurant are saying the pizza thing, like, can you please leave? We're trying to run a business here. It got physical. It's gone viral all over the internet, even to the point where Fox News was covering it as well. So
Fox News covered that.
Look, as far as I'm concerned, through all of this, I've loved the fact that Djokovic has gone out there and we're basically right in front of Gates. It's been Djokovic with the win. It's been Gates' love. As far as I'm concerned, simple as that. It's
like,
been perfect.
I don't know, but the Australian government's actions last year, this is one of the best that did not age well segments that in recent history. It's like that's one of the biggest FUs in.
It really is. How embarrassing for our country as far as our government.
And what did Djokovic have to overcome in the week as well? The whole controversy about his dad standing with fans who were flying the Russian flag and all that politically correct nonsense that was out there at the moment. And having to, he just in the moment getting a photo of people who are excited about the win. Yeah. And then they toing and froing whether he should be banned from seeing his son play. He decided he wasn't going to watch his son live at the game. This tennis player went through a lot to win last night.
Yeah. But the other thing as well, a lot of people don't realize. So think about Novak earns tens of millions of dollars a year playing tennis. Sure. Like the amount of time, effort, the dedication he would have had to, like, yes, he's naturally talented, but you don't win Wimbledon, the US Open, and all that sort of stuff with natural talent alone. The hard work he would have put into leading this. And it's not a short career. He's coming towards the end of his career. I think he's 2 up on Rafa or 1 up on Rafa for the most Grand Slam wins. Okay. So he is by far at the moment in tennis standards, the GOAT. He is the greatest of all time. So the thing is, he put on risk by standing up for what he believes in, his sponsorship deals, prize money, media presentations. Every time he does media conference and stuff like that, he gets paid to go on shows, all that sort of stuff. Because he decided to stand up, he put his entire career and millions of dollars on the line. So it's not just that side of things. Then all the grief he would have received back at home, the pressure on his family, the hassle that his father has already been receiving. Yep. So a lot of people aren't taking all this into account. And then for him to keep training through all of this, get up to match fitness and come back to the country that discriminated against him so badly and then absolutely kick everyone's ass.
Medical apartheid is what it was.
It's and then like the bit that I'm really pissed off with the Australian media on this one, I'm absolutely furious. Melbourne Olympics, we had the 2 runners that stood there and did the Black Panther salute on the podium.
Hang on, Melbourne Olympics.
Yeah, this is back in like 1970 or something. Okay. The 2 I think that was South African. I'm not
56 Olympics.
Oh no, it was a long time ago. The Aussie guy got third, so he just stood there, and the other two got first and second. So they're doing the full Black Panther salute on the podium in front of all these people. They were saluted as heroes for supporting what's now listed as a terrorist organization. But then Novak Djokovic stood up for his right, and he got treated like a criminal. And then he comes back and absolutely kicks everyone's ass because he's just an absolute champion, and yet the government and the media in Australia are still doing like shit.
But all of us know that man stood up and his integrity was not for sale.
Yeah.
And that's ultimately what it comes down to. You know what? You can go through life, whether you have financial success, family success, whatever success, sporting success. End of the day, when they put you in that hole, it's your integrity that really matters. And, you know, he has shown that in absolute spades. And I'm a casual tennis fan. I used to play tennis back in the day, all that sort of thing. But I tell you right now, I will follow that man for the rest of his the last of his career, because he's shown himself to be a step above, and he's shown himself to be that class of human being. Yeah.
So if he was Australian, I'd actually nominate him for Australian of the Year, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I'd be right.
I think he should at least get the Serbian of the Year.
Yeah.
So,
why not indeed?
And if you really want to get political, also Croatian, Bosnian of the Year. So I can see my ex-girlfriend who was Serbian going absolutely ape shit at me right now.
My big point is this: when this all hits into the mainstream media, it eventually will. The truth has a way of getting out. It's going to really shake up the whole medical industry.
Yes.
The whole big pharma shake-up is going to have repercussion effects. I mean, because people used to be able to go, you know, you go to your doctor, you tell your most health secrets to your doctor, or even, you know, your emotional and mental. Yeah, like, I'm not coping with life type.
What is this rash?
Exactly. Yeah,
it's funny because you're pointing like that.
Yes,
like no one else could see that was. Wow.
I'm gonna have some fun with it, mate. But you're right.
But so the whole question is, you know, can you trust your doctor? Can you trust the system? Can you trust the medicals? Nope. And the problem is, you know, I'm a difficult patient to deal with when I go in to see the doctor. I want a diagnosis. You might write a prescription for me, and I'm not necessarily going to go through what you've recommended. I'm going to look at it, into it, and all that sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
To do your own research.
Absolutely. Because and if there's a natural way of doing it, I'm going to try to pursue that before I go for the big pharma solution.
Yep. He's a Google doctor.
And well, my wife.
What is this rash?
My wife is brilliant on the research front on that space. And has made a huge difference in my life in terms of, you know,
that's great to hear.
Vitamins and all this stuff, the research she's done that you need, the nutrition. But it's going to be a thing of, you know, you're going to see your doctor, you see him pull up in the fancy car, and you know that you see the people. You know, I sat there while they were pushing that on children in the last back to school, get your vaccines campaign last summer, and you're going, how much is this going to go wrong? Sign your disclaimer here on the iPad. And it's just when do we stand up and say no to the system?
Let's not forget this. Let's not forget they set up clinics, you know, caravans across the road from schools.
No, it's worse than that. So when my daughters went to school, they actually took a bus to the school, loaded the kids onto the bus to go get vaccinated.
Well, I'm going to talk about a very local front.
I pulled my kids when I heard that. Immediately, and I think more parents should have.
Well, the caravan across the road from the school was paying kids $50 each for injections. That's here in Perth. That is disgusting. That is absolutely disgraceful. Because look, if I was 13 years old and someone said $50,
I'll take it.
Hello, exactly. That's my weekend.
What is this rush?
Comment of the night.
4 medical experiments right here. Oh, fantastic.
So it's going to be a huge shakeup in that industry, and I think, you know, where we go from here, well, this new technology is on the horizon. They're saying a lot of this is going to come out, which is great, different solutions, but you know, it's going to be a big game changer.
Absolutely. And I can see the entire financial industry changing so much with it.
Everything as a whole is going to get shaken up with this one. So especially when you have a look at what's going on now, the advances in AI and everything else, like give it 10 years, society as a whole is going to be totally different. People need to be prepared for it.
Yep.
Like if they're saying that, oh no, I won't be a part of it. Well, your head's in the sand.
I was served by a robot yesterday at a Chinese restaurant.
No.
Yes.
Really?
Yes. They came out.
Served by a robot or
Food.
okay.
Food. They came out with the waiter and waitress with all the piles of dishes there. And my child, one of my kids was fascinated by talking about it. And he says, oh, wow, and he says, thank you. And moves off, so knows which table to go to with which order.
Right. I'm going to go buy myself a bag of marbles. I'm going to throw those out on the ground and see how our robot goes.
Probably not.
I might. No, probably not. But I'll tell you right now, I'm someone who really judges people on the way they treat weight staff. I really am. And when they become robots, I'm just not interested. When I see people being rude to weight staff, I go, yeah, okay. I know exactly who I'm dealing with here. Right? I know how our relationship's going to be, and actually financially, you can really tell if you're going to get into business with somebody, and they're very rude to the wait staff. Yeah, yep. No.
Okay, what happens if someone's rude to a robot?
That could be me. I don't know.
Where's the wait staff? Get out of here, robot.
Yeah, exactly right.
Okay. Oh, I'm going to throw. Yeah. We're wrapping up now. Well, I'm going to throw a cat amongst some pigeons on this one. So, if the vaccine, I'm using if here because this is a bit of controversy.
Sure.
So there's a guy from the World Health Organization was reporting how they can actually hack into human DNA now.
Right.
So if they change your DNA and they've changed you so far that, because you got to remember, gorillas 97% of our DNA.
Yes. Yep.
Does a gorilla have human rights? How far do they have to change our DNA before we are no longer humans, and so therefore human?
Look, I often call you a shaved down ape. Is this about your relatives?
Oh yeah, of course.
What's going on here?
Awesome.
Really?
You know what relatives are. Come on, be nice. Wonder Woman is awesome.
She is. Now with that, we're going to finish the show. Derek, any famous last words?
Stand up for what you believe in.
Yep, absolutely.
Even if it costs.
Do it, NOVAX.
Stand up for what you believe in, and. If your conviction is at the end of the day, you sleep in your own bed.
You do,
right?
You very
and
much
so
do.
if you got your own conscience, and if it's bothering you, then that can go with the rest of your life.
For sure.
Get it cleaned up. Go with your convictions. Do the right thing by you and other people.
Love it, James. Any last thoughts about GFE?
Bye, GFE.
Yeah. Look, my thoughts is always do your own research. So I think our website and everything's on there. Radio station,
sure.
And I don't encourage anyone to do anything. It's I'm just here to tell everyone what I'm building.
What you're up to.
Do your own research is what I'd like to
love it.
And for the people who want the website to do their own research, it's about there.
Fantastic.
So, for the people, it's gfetoken.io.
Wonderful.
And all the links are there to social media, telegrams, and all that sort of stuff as well.
Thank you, Shaved Ape. I really appreciate that. That has been the Greater Wealth for today. I hope you've had a wonderful day.
Your face.
Thank you so much for being part of it, gentlemen. Really great stuff. This is Edge Radio Australia. I'm going to end it with, again, I like to choose the songs, and quite frankly, I want to get away from control. So I've chosen a little ditty called Closer to Free. It's Edge Radio Australia.
Done.
No, we never take serious. Yes, we're still live on Facebook.
Oh, okay.
Hello, Evan. Evan Almighty. I've got a mate who does editing with me for about 6 hours before his dad. I don't know if it was his dad or the mum cracked the shit. So his dad's last name was Evans. So his name's Evan Evans.
Right. That's rough.
I reckon it's the best name in the world.
I've literally, this is fact. I knew a guy called Wayne Kerr. That's just unfair.
Yeah, he used to play football. He used to play football for Wayne Carey, but on the radio they always used to go, "Oh, Wayne the King Carey."
There you go.
Yeah, Channel 7 always called him Wayne the King Carey.
And my sister went to a school with an Indian fellow by the name Aziz. And I always felt like, man, he was born to just leave him Aziz.
There's a guy called Adam Shitland, right?
You do realise this microphone is on.
Evan, you're just going out to the universe, my friend.
Yeah, trust me. People get offended by literally on social media. You post a white square, and someone will get offended.
Yeah.
So,
yep.
Anyway, no comments. No comments have come through. So I'm going to make like a duck. I'm pretty sure Taz has been watching the whole way through too. So I'm going to shut down the stream. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone.